We are back. It is NAMM 2020. My name is Florentino Buenaventura, CEO of EnterTalk Media, and right now, the host of the Changing Stage show. And we've been talking about movers and shakers, thought leaders in the music industry, predominantly in the music space. But this gentleman next to me right here is changed the game in so many ways. Iconic player, musician. If you've ever heard a Michael Jackson album, from Bad all the way back, my favorite ones, keyboardist, synthesizer, guru, Moog, original player.
Keep going.
That'll be the interview. You've changed the game for anybody who does electronic music because of the things that you've pioneered.
It was a great era. It was just a great era to be part of the record industry with. We had multiple layers of musicians in rhythm sections.
Yes.
We had phenomenal arrangers, 5 deep, 6 deep, 13 deep on the musicians, the rhythm sections, 13 deep.
Wow.
If somebody, a great drummer, John Guerin, didn't show up for a session, you could call and any of the great players would be there in 10 minutes. It was a great time to be there. And we had budgets. That's the big thing, because we sold product.
Yeah.
We sold records, and now you still see that somebody gets phenomenal press for selling 1 million records or 6 million records, right? Almost unheard of. We were selling 175 million records.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That is just
and at one time I had 175 with Michael Jackson and 139 with Lionel Richie, 139 million, 175 million at one time. Hi, Karen.
Well, I thought it was just 139 for Michael.
No, I think it's 175.
No,
it was a great era. So there were funds,
yeah.
And it wasn't a big deal if you wanted to hire 4 or 5 guys to play a rhythm date.
Yeah.
Or to play an album and book them for a 4 or 5 day period.
Yes.
Yes. And but now we're here.
Yeah.
And where are we now? We are at a place where
it's a changing world. It's a changing
way
stage.
Changing.
Yes.
And you can you're expected to be one guy who sits with a computer in a box and plays all the parts yourself. Yeah. And even if you're not a great drummer or a great bass player, say, because you can edit so much, you can then correct it to take the time.
Quantizing.
We had to play it live,
through.
Right there.
Actually, you had to play it and tune your Moog while you were going along.
The Prophet 5 hitting the tune button, the CS80 hit.
Because it didn't stay in tune.
Towards the end, after the Rev 3s stayed in tune. Yeah.
So you're touching on a very important question here. This has been all about the big picture, all these interviews that we've been doing.
Right.
We want to know what you thought leaders are what's your vision and your perspective of the industry. And I want to let you guys know, this man's so iconic, he created his own conference about the synth industry, and it's called Synthplex.
March 26th through 29th. In March of this year at the Burbank Convention Center at the Burbank Airport.
So we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit later on, but I want to...
You're going to be there.
I'm going to be there.
You're
for sure.
absolutely.
I'm going to be there. So we're going to be doing we're going to talk. So with that said, where do you think we are right now with the music industry, from music equipment, what you're doing there, and how it's distributed? I know it's a big, open-ended question, but... Okay,
Synthplex is not just about music equipment.
No.
It's about creativity. It's everything from the psychology of stage fright on through PROs and their function, through collecting neighboring rights, through how to compose for film, how to compose for streaming, how to compose songwriting, and musicianship and synthesis as well. So, because I consider anybody who uses a computer in the commission of making music, like the commission of making a crime, but the commission of making music, those people, even though they consider themselves guitar players, they are electronic musicians because they're using a computer, they're using plugins, they're manipulating, editing, they're electronic musicians.
Yes.
So we address all of that at Synthplex. The rest of the question was?
Where do you think we are right now? What's
It's interesting. It's really interesting. You know, there are people that are making money. It's shifted a lot to the people who are performing, making
75%. I heard earlier today. Versus
buku dollars out there. Huge tours, billion-dollar tours, stuff like that, and merch. All that, great income. So there's a shift from that part of the studio industry, you know, where people were able to not travel and still play on a lot of music and do whatever. Now it seems that there's, I would even say that there's a healthy amount of live performance in it. Healthy amount, because I think it's not right and healthy for a musician not to play in front of crowds. To see how people react to each note that you play. I think that's a very key part to what we do. It's shifting. I'm looking very much forward to what's going on with DDEX and the Open Music Initiative, that we are able to now track our music performance from the inception all the way through the UPC code on the final product being sold, so that when I sell a song, or Steve Vai sells a song, he sells a record in Taiwan, 1 hour later, he knows it's there. It's nothing. You shouldn't have to wait a year and 3 quarters to get a statement to find out that you have a following in South America. You know, you want to, if you sold 10,000 records this month, you want to be down there promoting it, and this is enabling us to do that.
Yes, and I think, you know, kind of jumping back into it, the answers that I think you're providing are going to be demonstrated at Synthplex.
Oh yeah, DDEX is coming. We have a lot of neighboring rights people speaking as well, but you know, that's a small part. Again, we have music performance, like I said, psychology. We have training for kids that are in middle school and high school and college arts departments. All of that, Dr. Bob Sound School, Kidsplex, and then we have a music festival. There's about 50 acts that will be playing each night. First night's going to start with a Keith Emerson tribute. We're going to be showing that Keith Emerson film, and it's EMAP is bringing the big Keith Emerson Moog. It's a really terrific event, broad event.
Amazing, amazing. How can we grow this industry as a collective? What I know that you just did.
You're doing it. What you're doing, Tino? What you're doing?
Well,
you're promoting what is the industry to more people. Your radio shows, everything helps join people together. We used to have this series of bands and rehearsals, like SIR, Third Encore, those places, rehearsal facilities. We used to be in the studio. We would have, a group like United Western, where there were, 11 studios, all there, where you would all be standing there, hi Bruce, that we would all bump into each other in the hall. And that's been replaced by the kind of social groups, ASMAC, Alliance of Women Film Composers, the Society of Composers and Lyricists, NARIS, NAMM. All of this is helping strengthen our music community, because if we stand together, people can't do stuff like they were trying to do before we passed the Music Modernization Act. They were trying to get the big guys like Spotify, we're still struggling a little bit with some of the streaming services, but it's getting better, where they were trying to say, oh no, statutory rate has to be less. Where we just talked about that at the beginning, where we'd sell 139 million records, 300 million downloads and I was there when Lionel got his first checks. I know, I'm not going to talk about the money, but it was big, right? When Pharrell got the check for Happy for 300 million downloads, it was something like $13,000 to split between two people, as compared to used to get 25 cents to $1 per record on 175 million records sold.
That's a big difference.
Big difference. You can't you can't pay for going into the studio with those tiny returns on your money.
And invite groups of solid players to play along with you, unless you're paying pennies or they're doing it as a favor.
Right.
And that's definitely changed the game.
And that doesn't, my bank won't take pennies for my house mortgage,
How
does my college for my kids take pennies. They won't take cookies.
But maybe coffee, I don't know. No, I owe you some coffee, by the way. I have it here, by the way.
We're going to see you tomorrow morning for that.
I got you bags of coffee at the other booth.
Oh, thank you. So, I love that coffee. That was great.
We got more for you, man.
Thanks.
We're in the coffee business too, guys. I don't know if you know that, but we give out coffee that's the special EnterTalk flavor.
Love it.
We'll
Absolutely great. You got to check it out. Definitely get your buzz on.
Yeah, definitely. And the coffee guru right here. So, what do we do? How do we get people paid now? How do we get these musicians to?
Well, first thing you have to do is be aware of where the income streams are from.
Yeah.
The income streams are from things like neighboring rights, your performing rights organizations, but neighboring rights globally, right? It's no longer just here we are in the United States, and maybe you get some money from Germany because Germany was the second biggest market. Now you get 187 countries that are all paying in, and what you have to be aware of is how to register your works, and the information that is contained in all the ISNI numbers and whatever, like go check out Imogen Heap's passport, because she's got a place to collect all of your information, so all of your works are there. People can see, you can be tracked to get you the money. There's this huge amount of money in black boxes, right? That they don't know who to give the money to. They don't know how to get in touch with them, you know?
Yeah.
People are off playing on the next record and they're not really broadcasting what they did, and there are no album notes anymore. So how do you know who played on what? How do you track it? How do you track who the bass player was on a record that only says the artist's name? Some of them don't even say the producer's name anymore. So those numbers and identifying your works that you've cooperated with, get them online, and then you can track your earnings.
That is
Synthplex. We talk about that at great length.
Well, you guys got to make it out to Synthplex for sure, because I went last year. It's amazing. It's more than just synth, like Michael said.
Oh yeah.
It's way more than just synth.
Because we all, the film composers, the streaming composers, the TV composers, the jingle composers, the songwriters, the arrangers, the electronic musicians, the sound effects designers, all those people. We bring them all together. We feed them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my last question actually kind of answered throughout the process. What's next? And kind of expand a little bit about that. That's the, where are we going next?
Okay, I just did a presentation on that this morning.
Right?
Right.
Keynote speaker, by the way. We're very fortunate to have him.
So in looking at it, how arrogant would I have to be to try and say that I know what the next 5 years are going to be like, because you're going to show up at the NAMM show and there's going to be 100 new items that nobody ever told you about 3 days before. It's almost impossible to predict. Somebody's going to come up with technology that's going to blow everything out of the water. MIDI 2 is going to be great. I was meeting with DDEX today. We're trying to get them together with MIDI 2 so that the creator information can be embedded from the very beginning, contained in those MIDI files, contained in the DAWs, and it gets tracked all the way through. All of that data gets tracked all the way through to the UPC code. That will be a big deal for us, right?
Yes.
And even people who make sample libraries, that they would know that where applicable, there are sample libraries where somebody holds a key and just plays back their sample library. That person's not the composer.
Yeah.
The person who made the sample library is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And you'd be able to track all that. AI's changing a lot, because AI is recognizing, even if you have down in Hall E where I just was, they had a little $30 plugin that separates the drums from the bass, from the vocal, from what they call other, and all the other parts. And you could take a drum and a bass track from somebody else's record and put a new record over the top of it. But with AI, you can track that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you'll actually get part of your payment.
Can I call you a futurist?
Well, it is coming. But you know, the networks have stuff like that. Networks have stuff that actually puts, because when you separate the audio to use a new codec on it, audio from the video, you're using a new video codec, the audio is separated out. Yes. They're two separate files. And then you have to make sure that the lips are back in sync, and AI is doing that for them. So it's coming. This information will all be available to us soon. MIDI 2 is going to change everything, just because we're getting closer to an analog line. It's no longer going to be these chopped informations where you hear grrr, right? Yeah. You're going to have smooth volume changes, smooth filter changes. You're going to have more expression.
We're going to have more than 127 is what you're telling me?
It's actually MIDI 2, the highest at 32-bit is 4.6 billion.
Slightly larger.
Yeah, slightly larger. Too much really for technology to handle now. Yeah. But if you go even from the 7-bit that we're used to with the 128 to 14-bit, 14-bit puts you at 16,000, so you have, for every one step of 128, the 0 through 127, you have a caret, and you have another 128 in that caret. So it's manageable, and yet you get a lot more expression.
Exciting times, man.
Oh boy, it is exciting. And with, you know, as the new Mac stuff, that big Mac that has oodles of processing power, blows everything else out of the water. As that becomes more affordable, that technology more affordable, you know, a lot of people to spend $20,000 on just the computer, that's too much money, right? But as it becomes more affordable, the processing power is nuts. It's going to be great.
Brother, hey, we never have enough time, man. We're gonna have to go to the studio and actually sit down and really dive in.
We'll do that. Yeah. I bought a microphone just for you. You know, when we were talking about doing the radio show, I got microphones for you. It's going to be great.
You and I.
You and me.
Folks, thank you very much for joining us. We've got another episode of NAMM 2020 EnterTalk, but we're going to bring up Terry Woolman after this with Vicki Randall. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Michael Boddicker, my brother.
Love you, man.
I love you too, man.
All right.
Thank you. We are out of here.
Keep the faith. Have hope. Yes. There is hope. Lots of hope.
And God bless you all.